Bridgerton Light Academia, hosted by Michelle of Moxie DIY in Java. Links to the host and the playlist will be in the description box. Let's make haste. Bridgerton Light Academia. But what is Light Academia? It involves literary inspirations, philosophical themes, learning, music, art, history. Bridgerton. Oh, don't we just love those visuals? Beautiful parties, little whispering scandals, but don't let Lady Whistledown get wind of it. You'll end up in her newsletter. Some of the things I really liked about this were the visuals of the beautiful gardens. I love gardens, especially rose gardens. I grow roses, so my first DIY is involving roses. Here's some of my beautiful red Mr. Lincoln roses. They are extremely fragrant, and I also grow white roses, JFK roses. So I decided to try my hand at pressing flowers and preserving them in a glass frame. I picked 2 flowers from my garden, trimmed down the leaves. I used some paper towels initially, but you are supposed to use parchment paper. And I just opened up this book to like the middle portion and placed the paper towel inside and just laid the flower on top, flipped to another section, repeated that, closed the book. I put a couple of weights like from a weight bench, and I let it sit for a month. Okay, so it's been 30 days and my flowers should be thoroughly dried. I did end up going back and I put a piece of parchment paper along with the paper towel, because when I initially put it in, I forgot, and then I thought about it like 15 minutes later that I needed the parchment paper. And here is my white rose. And I also put like 2 weights for like the I don't know what you call it, the weight bench. 2 big weights to totally flatten it. So that's my white rose. Here's my red rose. And then I took some of the leaves. I just flipped to it. I didn't put parchment paper on the leaves, and it caused some staining in this book, but thankfully it's old, and then this is just my leaves all flattened out. So what I have is a photo frame from DollarTree. I found this last year before the price hike, and it's double. It has the double glass panes, but this frame is too modern. So I want to remedy that with some paint and some clay and some molds. I have air dry clay and some different molds with these, beautiful scroll work. And I have antique white paint to transform the color, and then this one-step crackle from Deco Art to really make it look aged. So I really want this frame to look less modern and more old world. So I pick out a couple of frames and I take a bit of the air dry clay to press it in to see which of the ones will look the best to really amp up this frame. And here are some that I had prepped a few days ago. These are fully dry, and I'm just choosing which ones that I want to use on the corners, the scallop, or the actual edge pieces from the square frame, and I do end up choosing the scallop. So I take the frame apart so that I could glue my corner pieces on, and I do that with a bit of the Clear Grip Gorilla Glue because it'll give a permanent hold. And then once I get to the glass and I pull the paper off, of course, Dollar Tree, there's this like ultra sticky tape stuck on the glass. So once I had the stickiness removed from my glass, I did a dry fit of my flowers to see how I wanted to arrange them, and I decided I would do just a crisscross so I could have both of them in the piece together. And the white one was just especially fragile, so I'm just taking a bit of Aleene's tacky glue and applying it to the back of the flowers so I could lay them into the glass. And the tutorial that I'd seen about pressing the flowers stated that you could use any craft glue, even a glue stick. And I don't trust the glue stick, and I know Aleene's tacky glue works really well just from experience. So I wanted to use this to make sure that none of my flowers slipped. And then I took the piece of the leaves as well that I wanted to add in, and I removed a few of the leaves so that I could have just a little bit of extra greenery in the piece as well. So while the glue is setting up on my flowers, I'm using antique white to go over the entirety of the frame. So once that antique white dried, I used this crackle medium that I found at AC Moore when it was closing in my area, and I gave it a healthy coating, and I just crossed my fingers and hoped that it would work. So I gave it a few hours, and this is the result of the crackling fluid. And I like the way it came out. I thought it would be a lot more, but this is enough. I mean, it is a small frame, so I'm going to take a bit of pure gold from Folk Art and brush it into the little embellished pieces in the corners, and then a bit on the straight edge pieces. And now I'm going to take my top piece of glass and place it on top and start putting the frame back together, being very careful because the Dollar Tree glass is very thin and I don't want to crack anything. So once I flip the frame over to press the pieces in the back to hold everything, I don't want to press too hard because the stem isn't as flat as the flower is, of course. So I just give it, just a little light pressure to get everything pushed down into the frame. I'm beyond pleased with the way this turned out. I love the way my frame makeover turned out, the pressed flowers. I'll definitely be pressing more of my flowers and looking for more double paned frames. Okay, I've got some bake clay that I've softened up, and I'm going to press it into this round mold here. It's fondant mold. But as I said before, these are really, they work well with different types of clay, and I love them different accessories that the ladies had in the Bridgerton show. Chokers, pins, the adornments in their hair. And when I was looking at some of these molds, these round frames like this just reminded me of like a beautiful choker, like the charm on a choker that, you know, one of the ladies could have. And like inside in here it could be, you know, pearls or rose, maybe hair from your betrothed or whatever, you know, just something very romantic. But I just love the shape of that. And so I just repeat the same steps for the second mold with softening my clay up and then pressing it into the mold so that I can get all of the little features of the piece transferred into the clay. And with these complete, they'll bake for 15 minutes at 275 degrees. Once they had cooled from the oven, I gave them a base coat of cottage white from Folk Art. All right, so the white paint is dry. I'm gonna take a little bit of metallic silver to brush on the smaller one. For my larger piece, I want to use this rose gold from Folk Art and do an initial brush over of this, and then I'm going to come back with a bit of pure gold from Folk Art so I get a nice two-tone effect and all the raised bits are really accentuated. For the smaller piece, it has a bit of depth into it. So I have this rose from a previous project and these glass beads from my stash that I want to attach. And I think I should have enough space to add some of the tiniest beads on the top and the bottom of the rose. So I did an initial dry fit and just poured some on top to see how they would fit. And it worked pretty well. So I went ahead and I glued down my rose with the Gorilla Clear Grip glue. And then I added more of that clear grip on the top and bottom, and then put my beads on top of that. I brushed a bit of silver onto the rose so the petals would really pop. And once that dried, I did end up adding Mod Podge to that. And I put dishwasher safe Mod Podge on both pieces because they will be pieces that will be worn. And right now this is the thickest Mod Podge I have. And since this works well to repel water, I thought this would work well for these pieces. To accentuate the inner portion of the larger piece, I cut some pearl wrap into single strands, and I'm just going to hot glue that just around the inner circle of the larger piece. I found this double pack of hair clips last year at DollarTree, and I think this gold one will be perfect to attach to the back. So this beautiful piece will be a gorgeous embellished hair piece to be worn at a ball, or if the gentleman is coming over to see the lady, but nothing scandalous. Don't want to end up, you know, being gossiped about by Lady Whistledown. And for my small rose piece, this could either be a beautiful small brooch or a choker. I don't have the proper tools now to make this into a brooch. So just to do something just for the video, I'm just going to hot glue a piece of lace so this can just be a choker. I don't want to do anything permanent because I do want to eventually get a pen to permanently glue to the back of this. So just to show how pretty this would look as a beautiful lace choker. Okay, here's my assistant here. Her name is Miss Chelsea. So I'm just going to demonstrate how this little hair clip is going to work. Just going to open that up and pull it into Chelsea's hair, and she is ready to go. And doesn't this choker look amazing on Chelsea? Round of applause for Chelsea. What a great assistant she's been today. I think this turned out really pretty. I love the way this looks. I really enjoyed making these pieces for you today. I hope you've enjoyed my video. I do plan on using these molds a lot more in future videos, so do be on the lookout for that. I'll have the link for the playlist in the description box along with Moxie's channel. Please enjoy the playlist and have a wonderful day. God bless.